So I got this question, and kind of being aware of the fact that a lot of people don't actually know how a state works, because I sure as heck didn't know how the state works. I figured I'd answer it. So my son is 18, and technically he is the next of kin in the estate, which means that he, by default, becomes the executor of the estate or the personal representative. However, my ex-husband, one, did not have a will, which he was going to be 42 this year, so not shocking that he didn't. And if you don't have a will, I highly recommend that you do, regardless of the assets that you have, because a will is a little bit harder to contest than not having a will. But in terms of estate, what happens is when somebody dies, people come forward that can be the personal representative. In my case, my son is the next of kin, so he would have been the personal representative. If you file out of court, let's say because I have all three kids that are inheritors of my ex-husband's estate, all three of my kids have to be in agreement on my son as the next of kin being the personal representative. If that's the case, then everything can be filed through the court clerk that handles all the probate stuff. And then the estate just moves forward. He gets named the personal representative or the executor of the estate, and he gets to move forward with the estate. But let's say that a family member comes out of the woodworks, in my case, my mother-in-law, who decides that my 18-year-old son is not capable of handling the estate. What then happens at that point is that you can either reach an agreement with her on how you want to run the estate. You know, he's a personal representative, she's a personal representative, you run it together. Or it then becomes a court issue where it becomes more formal, and what then happens is that you go before a judge and anybody can contest the estate. So now what happened in my particular situation is my mother-in-law decided that my son at 18 was not responsible enough as an 18-year-old to be the personal representative, and that she would want to be the personal representative herself. She went into the house before the estate was set up. She took things out of the house before the estate was set up, had gotten permission from my son to do so before he was even named as a personal representative, which you cannot do. And so there were some questionable things that were going on. So we ultimately decided, and I got very lucky that I found an attorney that has been so beautifully helpful with all of my estate issues, and he will be handling the wrongful death, but he has kind of handheld my children and walked my children through, because technically all three of my kids are the inheritors. My two minor daughters are just not old enough to be part of the estate stuff. They have a say because they are older, but it's very limited in what they can and can't do. And so if you're ever in Prescott and you need a wrongful death attorney, or you need somebody to help you with probate stuff, Jensen Phelan law firm, Sean Phelan in particular, is amazing. But what happened in my case is that my mother-in-law decided to contest my son, so she took it to court. So we went to court. She decided before we went to court to withdraw her petition to be the personal representative, which anybody has a right to petition to be a personal representative if they want to. So she withdrew her petition and then decided to contest my son's capabilities of being the personal representative. And so that case, it goes before a judge, and it goes to trial. And so we had to get my son evaluated for his level of competency, and we had to find people willing to testify and evidence, to support that he is capable. She, on the flip side, had to find people who were willing to say that he wasn't and evidence that he isn't. She ultimately withdrew. We reached kind of like a settlement, so to speak. The judge agreed to us being able to start the estate with $20,000 to be able to keep up on bills and whatnot, while we sort the estate. We cannot disperse any items of the estate. Like my ex-husband has 2 vehicles that are paid off that my 18-year-old and my 16-year-old would like to have, but we can't disperse them until the estate is settled. And so we're kind of in a limbo right now where we're just getting the estate set up and trying to figure out what to do with his assets and all of his house and everything. So, but yeah, so my mother-in-law is actually capable of standing in the way in a lot of different ways. And this is true of pretty much any relative that wants to come forward and say that they think somebody is incapable of being a personal representative. Usually it is other family members, like let's say one son is named the personal representative in a will, and the other children disagree with that. Anybody can contest it. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. I'm still learning the process. We started it back in April. She had me meet with an attorney that she had hired. He misled us to a certain degree. And then my attorney, Sean, came in and kind of cleared everything up and kind of fixed everything. So we got really lucky on our side. And so he's been helping us to kind of get things back in order so that we can finish this. Hopefully we'll be done with the estate in the next couple of months. But hopefully that clears up any questions for anybody who doesn't know what to do with an estate or probate. And if you have not set up a will, regardless of what age you are, please, please, please set up a will, because it's a lot harder to contest a will than it is to contest an estate that doesn't have a will. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you look into filing even just a simple one. It doesn't matter, but just making sure that that's taken care of, because otherwise crazy things happen and you end up in court for like 3 months with in-laws you didn't know cared about the estate, and having to waste a lot of time, money, and energy. So I hope that helps. If you have any other questions, I can try to answer them as best I can. And if anybody knows more about the process than I do, because I only know what I'm currently going through, feel free to comment below. I would love to learn more about this, because I do have parents that are getting older, and I'm probably going to be the one handling the estate since I have the most experience in it now. So yeah. Anyways, hopefully that answered your question.